The rain hit the alien forest in steady rhythm, a soft percussion that wrapped the night in mystery. On the edge of a moss-covered clearing, a human explorer named Kale Morrow sat by a flickering campfire under the flap of his temporary shelter. The flames reflected in his green eyes as he sipped from a dented thermos, steam curling around his face. Kale was a field biologist for the Earth Interstellar Coalition. He'd been alone on the planet Tesserine for 12 days, cataloging flora and testing soil compositions. His gear, though worn, was functional. His khaki jacket was damp at the shoulders, his boots caked in reddish mud. But none of that bothered him. What did was the strange sensation that he was being watched. He set the thermos down quietly and reached for the compact scanner clipped to his belt. Its display blinked with irregular signals heat signatures, but too small and flickering for wildlife. Then came the rustle. Just beyond the fire's reach, the brush parted. What emerged was not what Kale expected. She stepped into view, slowly tall, slender, and undeniably alien. Her skin was a smooth shade of lavender blue, patterned with silvery lines that moved gently like bioluminescent ink beneath the surface. Her eyes glowed a soft violet, and her long hair shimmered as if threaded with strands of starlight. She wore a dark, sleeveless garment that clung to her shape and was clearly not suited for the chilly rain. Kale's hand hovered near his pulsablade, but he didn't draw it. Instead, he met her eyes and asked, "You're cold, aren't you?" She didn't speak, just nodded once. Her lips trembled, whether from chill or uncertainty. He wasn't sure. He stood up slowly, took a thermal blanket from his pack, and held it out. "Here, I don't know if your species uses these, but it's warm." She took it without hesitation, her fingers brushing his. The contact was brief, but Kale felt something like a hum just below the surface of his skin. Her gaze locked onto his, and her voice, soft but clear, finally came. "Thank you. I am called Nera." "Kale," he replied, his breath misting between them. "Kale Morrow." She wrapped the blanket around her shoulders, though she didn't retreat into the forest. Instead, she stepped closer to the fire and crouched, hands extended toward the warmth. The crackling flames cast orange light on her glowing skin, highlighting her alien beauty. "Are you lost?" he asked, after a pause. "No, I was sent to observe, but the storm came. My shelter was damaged. I saw your fire." Kale nodded. "You're welcome to sit here until it clears." She tilted her head, as if puzzled. "You are not afraid?" He smiled faintly. "Should I be? I am not human. I do not belong to your species. You do not know what I'm capable of." "That's true," he said, stoking the fire with a stick. "But you didn't come here with a weapon. You came for warmth. That says something." She looked at him again, this time with a kind of quiet. "Ah, most beings don't speak like that. I'm not most beings." They sat in silence for a while, the fire crackling, the rain tapping gently around them. Nera's body eventually relaxed. She leaned slightly toward him, eyes half-lidded. "I'm still cold," she said softly. Kale raised an eyebrow. "I've got another blanket. If may I sit closer?" She interrupted. He hesitated, not out of fear, but surprise. He nodded, and she moved beside him under the shelter's overhang, her blanket brushing against his. Her scent was faint, but not unpleasant like wet earth and midnight flowers. Kale swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how close she was. The moment felt strange, electric. "You offered kindness when you could have turned me away," she said. "That's rare." Kale glanced at her, unsure how to respond. Before he could find the words, she reached out slowly and placed her hand over his. "I don't just feel warmth from the fire," she whispered. "I feel it from you." And though he didn't move or speak, his heart pounded loud enough to drown the rain. Kale didn't move for a few heartbeats. Nara's hand was still gently resting over his, her violet eyes fixed on his face. He could feel the warmth of her touch through the damp fabric of his jacket. But there was something beneath the surface, a quiet energy, a silent question. She slowly withdrew her hand, looking down at the fire. "I didn't come here by accident," she said. "I was sent." Kale turned slightly toward her, not surprised, but curious. "Sent by who?" "My people," Nara replied. "We've been watching humans for many cycles, learning your patterns, your emotions, your instincts. I was tasked with observing firsthand, so I'm part of a study," Kale said, half laughing. "That explains a few things. You're different," she said without hesitation. "The way you treat the unknown, with curiosity instead of fear. That's rare in the galaxy." "I'm a xenobiologist," he shrugged. "It's my job to understand life, not judge it." She tilted her head. "That's why they chose you." The rain outside the shelter continued its steady rhythm. Kale adjusted the fire slightly, feeding it another damp branch. Sparks snapped upward, reflecting briefly in Nara's glowing skin. "Let me guess," he said. "You're not just an observer, are you?" Her silence was answer enough. "You're here to test us," Kale guessed, watching her reaction. "See if humanity's ready for, what? Contact. Integration into some bigger galactic order." Nara met his gaze. "Yes, but I wasn't supposed to reveal that yet." Kale exhaled slowly. "And yet, here we are." "Because you offered me a blanket," she said quietly. "Because you let me sit by your fire. Because you didn't treat me like a threat." "I treated you like someone cold and wet," Kale replied. "Seemed like the decent thing to do." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "That's not how most species respond. Empathy isn't a survival trait in many civilizations. They've evolved beyond it, or below it." There was a pause. Then Kale asked, "So what now?" She looked at him, eyes searching. "Now, I have a problem. I was supposed to remain objective, but I felt something when you touched me, when you spoke. It changed things." Kale felt his pulse quicken. "What kind of change?" "In my species," she said slowly, "physical contact under emotional stress can activate something deeper. A link, a bond." Kale asked. She nodded. "Emotional, instinctive, and biological." Kale blinked. "Hold on. Are you saying I didn't mean to?" She interrupted quickly. "But it's forming, and once it starts, it grows, fast." Kale ran a hand through his wet hair. "You're telling me that by giving you a blanket, I accidentally started an interspecies bond?" Nara looked down. "It wasn't just the blanket. It was the way you looked at me, like I was someone, not just data. That changes everything." They sat in silence again, the fire crackling softly between them. Kale felt the weight of the moment. It wasn't fear he felt, but awe. "So," he said, trying to keep his voice steady, "what does this bond mean for you?" "For me," she echoed. "It means I've compromised my mission. The Council will sense the emotional echo. They'll recall me, or worse." Kale's hand found hers again. This time, she didn't flinch. "What does it mean for me?" he asked. Nara's eyes shimmered. "That depends on you. If the bond continues, you'll begin to feel things, my thoughts, my emotions. You'll know me in ways that go beyond language or logic. And if I choose not to, it will fade, slowly, but it will hurt both of us." Kale didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked at the alien woman beside him. She was elegant, intelligent, powerful, and yet vulnerable in this moment. Not a threat, not a study subject, just someone caught between duty and feeling. "I didn't expect any of this," he admitted, "but I don't want to turn away from it either." Her grip on his hand tightened. "You're not like the others," she whispered. "You make me feel alive." Kale leaned closer, not out of desire, but trust. Then we face whatever comes next together. Outside, the storm began to ease. But inside the tent, a different kind of storm was just beginning. The storm of something deeper than science, older than stars, and stronger than species. The morning light broke through the alien treetops in narrow shafts, painting the forest floor with patches of gold. Kale stood just outside the tent, his gaze sweeping across the soaked jungle. The rain had stopped, but the stillness that followed felt unnatural, like something was about to happen. Behind him, Nara sat cross-legged, eyes closed, breathing slowly. Her skin pulsed with soft violet light, the glowing patterns now faster, more vivid. Kale turned to her. "Are you all right?" She opened her eyes. "The bond is deepening. I can feel your thoughts more clearly now." Kale stepped closer, crouching beside her. "What am I thinking right now?" She tilted her head, studying him. "You're worried about what this means, about what we've already done." "Yeah," he admitted, "because no one's going to believe me back at command. And even if they did, they wouldn't understand. They'll try to separate us," Nara said quietly. "That's what the council does. When bonds form where they shouldn't, they cut them off." Kale frowned. "And by cut off you mean psychic cleansing," she said. "They remove the bond, wipe memories if needed, and if there's a result of the bond." She didn't finish the sentence, but her hand drifted to her stomach. Kale's heart pounded. "Are you saying It's early," she whispered, "but my species doesn't bond without consequence. A child born from this would be the first of its kind. Human and Etherian, emotional and psychic. And the council will do anything to prevent that." Kale stood abruptly, running a hand through his hair. "We can't stay here. If they're watching you, they're already on their way." "I agree," she said, rising slowly. "But there's a place not far from here. A relay outpost one your people installed during the first wave of exploration. It has a signal beacon strong enough to reach both Earth and the outer Etherian. Satellites." Kale nodded. "If we can reach it, I can send a secure log, document everything. Let the galaxy see what they're trying to erase." Nara touched his arm. "We need to move now." They packed quickly. Kale stashed his field notes and data logs into a waterproof case. Nara secured her cloak and slung the spare blanket over her shoulder. As they stepped into the forest, the silence was broken only by the crunch of wet leaves beneath their boots. They moved fast. Nara led the way, navigating terrain that Kale had mapped but never crossed this quickly. She moved with grace, despite the changes already beginning in her body. Her skin patterns were more intricate now, more alive, and the glow from them cast dancing shadows between the trees. About an hour into the hike, Kale's scanner lit up. 3 red blips. "Drones," he said. "Council issued, and they're closing fast." Nara's skin pulsed with alarm. "They'll try to disable you first, sever our bond through me, then erase your memories." Kale gritted his teeth. "Not happening." They ducked into a ravine lined with glowing moss. Nara knelt beside him, pulling a small device from beneath her cloak. It resembled a silver shard, crystalline and pulsing. "What is that?" "A dampener," she said. "Short range. It scrambles emotional signatures. If we activate it, they'll lose our trail temporarily." "Do it." She pressed her fingers to the device, and it emitted a faint hum. Immediately, Kale felt his chest lighten, like a pressure he didn't notice before had lifted. Nara swayed slightly. "It'll mask us," she murmured, "but it also weakens the bond. We can't use it for long." Kale offered his hand, steadying her. "We'll make it in time." As they continued, the forest thickened. Twisting roots and hanging vines slowed them, but Kale pushed ahead, helping Nara over fallen logs and across narrow streams. Their fingers stayed interlocked. The bond, though muffled by the dampener, still pulsed between them, a thread of warmth in the cold. They reached the clearing just as the first drone zipped into view. Sleek and black, it hovered silently, scanning the area. Kale ducked behind a boulder and pulled Nera down beside him. "It hasn't seen us," he whispered. "They won't stop," she replied. "Even if we reach the outpost, the council won't let us speak freely." Kale looked at her, eyes hard. "Then we speak loudly. Let them try to silence that." A flicker of emotion passed across Nera's face, something between fear and pride. She leaned in close, forehead resting gently against his. "This was never supposed to happen," she said. "I was trained not to feel. But with you, I'm not afraid anymore." Kale smiled. "Neither am I." The drone turned and zipped away, deceived by the dampener. As soon as it was out of sight, they broke into a run toward the outpost, toward the unknown, toward the choice that would change everything. The outpost rose like a forgotten relic among the trees, a squat, reinforced structure of steel and alloy, half swallowed by vines and time. It had been years since Kale's team had set it up during their preliminary survey of Tesserine. Back then, it was just a backup communication relay. Now, it was their last hope. Kale and Nera emerged from the tree line, breath ragged from their climb. The dampener had drained most of Nera's strength. She leaned against him as he unlocked the outer door, his palm print still recognized by the faded scanner. As the heavy door hissed open, Nera stumbled. Kale caught her instantly, his arms steady. "I'm fine," she said, breathless. "The bond, it's pushing hard. The child's mind is growing fast, too fast." Kale nodded, helping her inside. The lights flickered to life in the entry corridor, illuminating rows of storage crates and defunct monitors. Everything smelled of rust and ozone. They moved quickly to the control room. Kale powered up the central console and fed it his backup power cells. The ancient system whirred, then blinked online. The beacon's dish slowly began to rise from the roof outside, its sensors struggling through years of dust and alien pollen. Nera sat on a bench near the far wall, eyes closed, fingers on her belly. Her skin now pulsed with steady silver light, and her breathing was shallow. "Talk to me," Kale said, checking the uplink frequency. "How bad is it?" "She's conscious," Nera whispered. "Our daughter, she knows. She hears us." Kale stopped, hand hovering over the control panel. Yes. Nera smiled weakly. "And she's afraid." He knelt beside her. "What does she feel?" Nera's hand brushed his cheek. "She feels you, your worry, your courage. She wants to be with you." Kale's throat tightened, but he swallowed it down. "Then let's make sure she gets that chance." He returned to the console and tapped into the transmission sequence. Log entry: Kale Morrow, Field Xenobiologist, EIC Division. This is a priority-level broadcast, not a drill. He turned, gesturing for Nera to come closer. She stood slowly, her balance shaky, but her eyes clear. "We are transmitting proof of a bond," Kale said into the recording node. "Not just between species but between souls. What started as observation has become something more, something living, something undeniable." Nera added her voice. "The Etherian Council fears this bond. They call it contamination, but it is connection. It is evolution. We didn't just find each other, we created something new." Kale reached over and gently placed her hand on the biometric reader. The device blinked, registering the strange harmony between their combined emotional fields. "We're not asking for permission," Kale said, voice steady. "We're showing the truth, and you can't stop the truth." He hit transmit. The beacon pulsed. A wave of light shot into the sky, visible for miles. Any Etherian ship in orbit, any scout drone nearby, any council observer across the quadrant would see it. They would hear it. They would feel it. Then came the sound Kale feared most, a low hum, mechanical, angry. Nara's skin flared in alarm. They're here. Outside the reinforced windows, a sleek council vessel descended through the clouds. Unlike the drones, this one bore weapons sleek, silent, and deadly. Kale moved to the console. We've got 10 minutes of signal before they can jam it. If they destroy the station, the transmission might not complete. I'll hold them off, Nara said quietly. Kale froze. No, absolutely not. You have to finish this, she said, stepping toward the door. The signal must complete. If it does, others will come. Others who felt what I've felt will have a chance. You're not going out there alone. Nara stopped, her eyes wide. You would risk your life for me, for you, for her. He touched her belly gently. For all of us. The moment between them shimmered with emotion so strong it made the station lights flicker. They turned together toward the door, hand in hand. If they want to stop the future, Kale said, they'll have to get through the two of us. And our daughter Nara added with a smile. She's already stronger than they know. As the first council boots hit the earth outside, the broadcast continued to pulse. And inside the forgotten outpost, a human and an alien stood side by side, ready to fight for love, for life, and for the revolution that had already begun. The council ship loomed above the canopy like a dark omen. Its hull hummed with restrained power, weapons trained on the small outpost below. The earth trembled as its landing gear touched down, sending tremors through the damp soil. Inside the outpost, Kale stood beside Nara, both armed with only a field pulse pistol and their unshakable bond. The transmission continued in the background, light from the quantum beacon pulsing in time with Nara's heartbeat. Kale could feel the link between them, no longer subtle, but bright and blazing. Their unborn daughter's emotions poured into his chest like sunlight: hope, trust, fierce protection. The first blast struck the side of the station. Alarms flared, metal groaned. They're not waiting, Kale said, pulling Nara behind a reinforced pillar. They'll breach any second. Nara touched her belly. She's awake. She's guiding me. Before Kale could ask what she meant, the wall blew open with a blinding flash. Smoke filled the corridor. Figures stepped through council retrievers. Tall, sleek, emotionless. Their eyes glowed red with scanning light. Their voices were cold. Evaluator Nara, submit for cleansing. Human contamination detected. Nara stepped forward, fearless. You fear what you don't understand. But this, she placed Kale's hand on her abdomen. This is not contamination. This is our future. One of the retrievers raised its weapon. Kale fired first. The blast struck the chest plate, barely denting it. The retriever fired back, a beam slicing through the wall near Kale's head. Before Kale could move again, Nara raised her hand, and the world shifted. A shockwave of raw emotion erupted from her. It was not a weapon of fire or force, but of feeling, love, defiance, unity. The retrievers hesitated. Their sensors blinked erratically. Kale felt it too. The pulse of their child's consciousness grew louder, spreading through the outpost like a rising tide. Lights flickered, machines hummed, and for the first time, the council soldiers faltered. Then the signal beacon surged. Outside, the sky shimmered with a new glow, not just light, but resonance. From orbit, nearby Etherean ships caught the pulse. Not data, not commands, motions, joy, empathy, courage, and something else. Connection. Back inside, the retrievers turned to one another, disoriented. Their emotionless code had never been tested by a living presence like this. They feel her, Nara said softly, her hand trembling. Even through their programming. More explosions rocked the building. Debris fell. The transmission timer ticked down, 95%. Almost there. A second squad stormed in. One retriever raised a nullifier and energy field designed to sever psychic links instantly. Kale jumped in front of Nira, but the shot never came. The lead retriever stopped, shaking, its red sensors flickering wildly. It dropped the nullifier, and it spoke. "I feel." Kale's breath caught. Nira stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "Then, it's already too late for your counsel. The future has begun." Suddenly, the remaining retrievers paused. Then, one by one, they powered down, their internal circuits overwhelmed by something they were never designed to process: love. The transmission beacon hit 100%. The message, Kale's voice, Nera's truth, and the psychic pulse of their unborn daughter, spread across space. To Earth. To the Etherian homeworld. To every world that had forgotten what it meant to feel. Silence fell in the wake of it. Then, a distant rumble, not warships, not reinforcements, ships, of observers, citizens, rebels. From both sides, drawn not by orders, but by hope. Hours later, Kale stood outside the outpost, watching those ships land. Nira sat on a stone beside him, her strength returning, her hand resting over her stomach. "You realize what we've done?" he asked softly. Nira smiled. "We've given them something they haven't had in centuries. A choice. A revolution," he said. "A beginning," she corrected. One of the Etherian rebels approached a crimson-skinned woman with shimmering eyes. "The council is silent," she said. "They didn't attack. They didn't respond. Some say they're feeling for the first time." Kale exhaled, relief washing over him. "And your child?" the woman asked Nera, bowing slightly. "Will she be a bridge?" Nera's voice was soft, but resolute. "She will be a storm, a light, a guide." That night, as the stars returned and the forest breathed again, Kale held Nera close beneath the open sky. From a single act of kindness came something no one could have predicted. Not war, not peace, but understanding. And in that understanding, a new galaxy would be born.